Education is something which is developing young minds. Why are 29% employable? Why 71% are not even employable? Because what we are teaching them is not what the industry wants. You are teaching the kids which we have been teaching for the last 30 years.
Teachers are not respected. Without productive struggle, you cannot have memory. You cannot remember things. You cannot solve things.
Do you think technology and AI is going to help us, harm us?
Technology, if it is used as an enabler, it will be the best thing which would have ever happened. It enhances productivity, it enhances efficiency. The teacher should use AI tool for building capacity or understanding or how the pedagogy needs to be delivered in class.
We had webinars we conducted. We would go into schools and we would conduct trainings with them. Without teacher training, nothing's going to happen.
Education is something which is developing young minds, inculcating the habits of curiosity, asking questions, learning lifelong habits. And in all this, there should be joy in learning. The end result, if I see, of education needs to be good, happy, responsible citizens of a country. When you go to an educational institution or when you go and meet people, there's a learning experience. Today, the education is not just what you want to be, but how that journey is to be taken. Lifelong learnings is something, a skill which every child need to pick up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pranav Kothari. I'm the CEO of Educational Initiatives, a company that makes assessments and learning software for students in schools. Today is a very exciting day. It's the first episode of the Teacher App podcast. I'm so excited to have two guests who have spent decades working in the trenches in the education sector. Our first guest, Ms. Neeru Khosla, welcome to the show. You are the co-founder and CEO of CK12, and we'll learn more about that in the podcast today. And thank you for coming, Mr. Rakesh Bharti Mittal, as the Vice Chairman of Bharti Enterprises. I know you've spent a lot of time visiting your schools that you run on the ground. In today's podcast, I'm eager to, pick your brains on what your definition of education is. What do you think of a teacher's role? How can technology and AI complement this? And what do you feel will be the reaction of the teachers when they get access to this? I'd love to understand more about all of these and learn about all the hard work you've done and celebrate this partnership with both of you today. Welcome to the show. Both of you have spent so much time in the education sector. You have devoted a large part of your time and your wealth towards improving learning. Just a really, really, really basic question. The word education, how do you define it? What does it mean to you? I looked up the Latin roots of the word education, and it told me it comes from two different words, educare and educere. Educare is more around how can someone teach, how can someone help a child, and educere is more on how do you elicit that knowledge. Yeah. And I thought it was great, fascinating. It seems contrasting in today's world where we talk about teaching and learning separately, but the fact that both of these, together today is the word education was something I found fascinating. But when you hear the word education, what does it mean to you personally?
For me, I think it's one of the most fundamental needs of a child growing up. Just to put things into perspective, I work with K-12 level students. So for me, I always think about it in that sense. What does it mean? Imagine everyone that comes into the world, it doesn't know how to kind of what to do with the world, right? They're not experienced. So you have to bring them into the world. Parents bring them in and they start kind of letting them explore, letting them touch, feel, whatever, so they can know what the world consists of. So similarly, I think this to get human beings to live with each other and to have a society, we need to have some level of commonalities that we can teach so that every child has the opportunity to go ahead and create something for themselves or the unit or society. So for me, being educated means you have the knowledge of domains, you have the knowledge of social emotional interactions. So All those things kind of constitute learning and being educated.
That's fascinating. Like unlocking the full potential of a child
Yes.
could be a purpose of education.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that.
Well, Pranav, to me, I think, first of all, I would say education is something which is developing young minds, inculcating the habits of curiosity, why, asking questions, um, learning lifelong habits. And in all this, there should be joy in learning. The end result, if I see, of education needs to be good, happy, responsible citizens of a country.
Yes.
Globally, I would say, not even India. I mean, today we keep saying distances have sort of diminished. So, good global citizens.
Yes.
And I think that is where the role of the teacher is at the center or at the epicenter, if I may say. The educators around, you can keep on bringing different tools. You can keep on looking at how to keep on innovating with the times, the skills needed, and then prepare them for a better tomorrow. What I have seen in the last 2.5 decades, it's more on high scores. There is no all-round development of a child. There's so much of peer pressure put on it from the parents, from the teachers, and the peer pressure from within the society and your friends around, that you have just stopped smiling, if I may say. When I go today, I don't see smiling kids. During our time, that was something which was it was a joy to go to school.
Musty was the
Yeah,
thing we
right.
did.
So to me, all-round development of a child with inculcating values, and that is the thing which again I have forced upon myself, and I keep on repeating whenever I interact with the younger generations, that this is one area which has gone out of the window for the last 2 decades. And to my mind, education without a value system, or if I may say without sanskar, is no education. I mean, you are just educated, you have a certificate, but where is the empathy?
Yes.
Where is that heart you need to understand the emotions?
Yeah.
So there is a larger good which the education must bring on.
Yes.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it needs to be done in a very, very structured manner. I mean, for example, I can tell you, during my school days, moral science and civics were subjects. There are no more such subjects here. There is no empathy for fellow citizens. I mean, and therefore, there is no civic sense, there are no values, there are no morals. And this is a thing which we must teach our generation, next generation, our kids. And that needs to continue generation after generation. So my belief is that's the sole purpose of education.
Yeah, I like how you define as the ultimate goal of education is to have happy citizens who also care for their peers. And how do we do this? Both of you have spent significant time in schools, interacted with many teachers. As you've gone there, you've gone inside the classroom, you've stood literally next to the teacher. How do we see that role? How difficult is it for a teacher to do everything you have
Yes.
outlined right now
Right.
for them?
Teachers are not respected. It's a big problem. So it's become a little bit of an issue. So I used to walk into classrooms. I spent my first 10 years in a classroom with really a master teacher. And she was incredible. She had information on every child. Today, computers are doing that. She had information on every child, what they did, what they didn't do. It's amazing. If we had that knowledge today from every teacher, it would be unbelievable.
Yeah, I think teaching is an incredibly difficult profession, and you've now mentioned that respect for the teacher has also declined as a value system has declined. Um, as you have met and interacted with many of these teachers, how difficult is this role? And amongst what you do, and especially now with technology, how can it help teachers achieve the intent that every child maximizes their full potential, turns out into a happy citizen, what's the role of the teacher today, and how will it change tomorrow?
So Pranav, I will answer it in a different manner. The problem is just not the teacher today. It starts from home,
Mm,
the parents.
mm,
Yeah.
So let's be very, very clear that you cannot just say the teacher is responsible to shape up my child.
mm,
I have paid you fees. I bring the child in the morning, and then it's your job.
mm.
The child goes home. Everything is to the contrary what is being taught in schools,
Right.
right? So to my mind, parents are equal partners in making sure that they are shaping up their own kids, their minds, and if you see that, it becomes a cyclic effect. If every parent takes responsibility of their own kids
Mm,
in giving values also.
mm.
Education, I can understand today, the younger generation, both parents are working, they don't have time. I can understand that. Outsource that to the school. That's fine. But rest everything on
Yes.
bringing, in a repetitive way.
Yes.
How should the mutual respect be there? They need to walk the talk.
Yes.
And by the way, today's young minds are much more intelligent than when we were kids. I mean, I can tell you, we were probably not even 1/10 of what today's kids are. Their mind, their questions. Sometimes it sort of worries me because my grandson will ask me a question and I don't have an answer, and he tells me, he says, "Come on, you
Dada
don't
ko
know,
kuch nahi
yeah,
aata."
you don't know anything." So they challenge us.
Right.
But having said that, the also one thing we need to keep in mind is that the role and the responsibility of a teacher is not just to teach. The role of the teacher is to hold a hand of a young mind, of a young student or child who walks into the school. 15 years, when the child goes out, he or she must be holding the hand of a teacher.
Lovely.
If that journey can be stitched with complete support from parents,
Yes.
I see no reason why cannot we have happy, productive citizens,
Yes.
good kids. The most effective way which I saw we did at one of the schools was that we called a community member. He was not a parent, Dudwala, who supplies milk. He came for 1 hour and he was teaching the kids how to measure 250 milliliter, how to measure 500 milliliters. Now this is learning
Yeah.
as well as joy in
Yes.
learning.
Yes.
So I think it's a very important thing which the point I'm trying to make here is parents and teachers are equally responsible.
Yeah. Learning is
And
all.
and most of the times when the teachers are not getting respect from the students, the parents are at fault. The society is at fault. That's what I would say.
Yeah. So learning is a very integrated thing. Like, it's not like it's only happening in school or at home. It's happening everywhere.
Absolutely.
And for the child, it's a single individual. So they connect the dots between what they observe at home and what they're taught at schools. And if that's a dissonance, then there's a chance that it may not
Right.
fructify the way we envision it
I
to.
think you also have to remember that societies become very complex.
Yes.
Parents are so busy trying to make sure that they can put food on the table, right? And that's where conflict happens. And I think from the school that my kids went to, I wish I had gone to. I was, it was so similar, like they learned by experience, right? Not just by reading something, not by just, at the end of every school year, they had to do a performance on some project they did, and everybody respected. My daughter, she was in kindergarten, I think. She said she was learning to play the piano, and she says she was going to take part in the end of the school year, and she had just started piano. I said, Vani, are you sure you can do this? And she says, yes. So she bore a beautiful dress. She walked up to the piano on stage, sat down. She played the piano note by note by note. 300 people in the audience. Nobody moved. till she finished.
Mm.
And everyone clapped.
It's beautiful.
Right. That's the kind of environment you need. And you're talking about that, not just, it's about respecting the effort that a child is making.
True.
Don't put them down, right? That's not done. There's no time for that. And I talked to you about this, and it's all because what we expect as the end result, the success factors.
And do you think technology and AI is going to help us, harm us, be neutral on this mission of education, the way you define it? What has been your experience?
Well, clearly, technology, if it is used as an enabler, it will be the best thing which would have ever happened. What I see in the short to medium term is verbal reasoning, critical thinking is not happening. Because every child, forget about every child, even every adult has outsourced everything to this animal AI, which is fine. I mean, it enhances productivity, it enhances efficiency. But what is going to happen to the mind? I mean, if we had to, during my school days, you had to write an essay, or you'll come to the class and the teacher will say, okay, this is the subject, write what you want to. Now you start thinking. Today, at the press of a button, everything is given to you on the platter. So the critical thinking and the verbal reasoning is something which is taking a big hit in the short to medium term. In the long term, of course, this is going to be a great, I would say, addition to education. Most of the people also feel that, once we have these AI tools, why do we need a school? Why do we need a teacher? Well, if I see from my eyes, this is something which is a must. Because when you go to a school, right, when you go to an educational institution, or when you go and meet people, there's a learning experience. So, during our times, we used to study that, I need to become a doctor and an engineer. Today, the education is not just what you want to be, but how that journey is to be taken. Lifelong learnings is something, a skill which every child need to pick up. And the AI tools can help you to an extent. And similarly, the teacher should use AI tool for building capacity or understanding or how the pedagogy needs to be delivered in class. For that matter, every teacher need to go and see, the last child standing. Go down to the level of that child and teach so that everyone starts moving up the ladder.
Correct.
Generally, what happens today? The teacher identifies 10 bright students. Everything, the delivery of education in a class is for those 10 students. I jokingly say, our cumulative score of 3 years used to be 90% plus. Today, every kid is at 97% every year. Now, that's the difference. Look at the pressure. And the child is 98% cannot get into the university or college or a program which they want to. So there is a inherent conflict, if I may say. We want to do something. The pressure is so much that this takes a hit, and then all hell breaks loose.
Right.
So the education system need to be aware of how to prepare a child to the best of his and her ability, and how can we really add value to that for them to be, what I said earlier, laughing and happy citizens.
Yes.
They can only be if they have achieved what they wanted to do in life.
I think what I've done for the last 20 some years, what I've learned watching students, is that if you can give them what they're interested in, what their purpose might be, watch a baby, right? It'll look for color, it'll look for some movement, it'll look for, that kind of thing. Similarly, if we can attract each child. So what we did with our system when we created it wasn't just a technical solution, although technology was the main thing for this.
Right.
For our solution, we built a complete vertical. And a vertical in technology is about not just knowing the answers, which is what our system was reduced to, because the teachers were not able to go deep into understanding a child. What does this child really know? What does this child really want? You know, you ask, what do you want to become, right? I want to become a doctor. I want to become a fashion designer. Our system will say, okay, these are the things you must learn, right? And then we'll lead you through it. And how might you learn it? What's missing? We'll do deep learning, deep knowledge tracing in the vertical. So what a teacher cannot do, we provide so they can have a better, deeper knowledge of the state of the mind of a student.
Yes.
Right? There, it doesn't matter if you are designing for the 10th student Rakesh was talking about, or for the 30 students that could be just at the moment where they can take off, or students that are so far behind. I mean, it's ridiculous that you expect every child to catch up years of loss in 1 year.
Yes.
To me, that's the most ridiculous, in front of everyone,
Right.
in front of their peers. And the peers go, oh, he's dumb, right? And it happens all the time. So if the system can help you through all these negatives that you face in a classroom, and yet be successful at the end of the outcome. Student asking, hey, why does the sun burn when there's no oxygen in the air, right? It's a brilliant question. And if you ask most adults, they don't know the answer. Do you know the answer?
I don't know the answer. I'll fail every question you ask.
Don't worry, me too. Even though I'm a scientist, it took me by. And the question is really, yes, there's no oxygen up there, but it's not a chemical combustion. It's a nuclear fusion, right?
Yeah.
So right there, the system says, now we know what to do with the student. Introduce nuclear fusion, reintroduce chemical combustion, and help them think through it. That capability wasn't there in our time when the teacher said, here's physics problem, solve it.
Yes.
Well, you got it wrong. Well, here's another one, similar one, solve it.
Right.
What the teacher didn't know, it was a math issue, not a physics issue. So what we did from the very beginning, we created connections between concepts. We built simulations so they could actually experience those. And then we said, okay, we've got math connections, we've got science connections. Now let's build math and science. Now let's build literacy. Now we build verbal literacy. So it's all coming.
Nice.
Nothing comes ready-made. But we deliberately are creating this solution for K-12. And I think our partnership will be very useful to solve these issues.
No, Neeru, what you're saying is absolutely bang on. You know, the main issue which I fear is that, first of all, the teacher really needs to get trained on how to use the AI tools.
Absolutely.
And to be trained to use those AI tools for improving quality of learning for the wards or the students, and not a substitute.
Yes.
If we want sort of the teachers to get better, then the measure of AI is not about how advanced it gets, but about how productive and meaningfully it supports the teacher to provide the education we desire, right? So it doesn't replace the teacher,
but with one caveat.
Yeah.
The teacher must ensure that the students are thinking.
Yes.
They are applying their mind.
Yes.
Not just using the technology to get over with and get your marks and then you move on.
So the productive struggle of the child must sort of still continue.
You use the right terminology, productive struggle. And that's what learning is all about, right? Without productive struggle, you cannot have memory. Yes. You cannot remember things. You cannot solve things. So from the very beginning, we ensured that we were training teachers. Without teacher training, nothing's going to happen, because they won't know what a real online tool can do.
And it's great to see the teacher app sort of, really supporting this
Yes.
for multiple teachers across India, and not just within the Bharti schools, but outside of it. And the hard work that you've done to build CK12 over the last 2 decades, and the ones that you have done over the last 2 decades to build it in the schools. So it seems like that is what the potential of technology to improve
Yeah,
teachers.
so Pranav, let me explain in a very, so the teacher app we developed was like the brick and mortar.
Mm,
Yeah, it was step by step.
mm,
Teachers were making all the curriculum content for teachers. So it was teachers developing for teachers.
right.
And then we get Neeru with the CK12, Flexi, the 45 plus AI tools, and we overlay that onto
Yes.
the teacher app. And wow,
Yes.
today every teacher, I mean, I used to go to schools, my quality support program, and I said, why are you not using the teacher app? And they said it's only up to primary level what you have launched. We are in middle or K-12 senior classes. All that is gone now.
Yes.
So with this tool, you can
Full suite.
you can sort of sweep the entire board, content, curriculum, and whatnot,
Yes.
which keeps coming from the back end, and no one needs to really get into what happens at the back end. The
Correct.
main thing is what comes to you
Yes.
as an answer. So the only thing also what I would like to also add to this is that the teachers must also make sure that the students are having a deep understanding of the issue being taught or being discussed. Easy answers will again, you'll stop understanding,
Applying
Right.
you'll
properly.
stop thinking.
Right.
So the way I see this is that, if the purpose of education is to help every child achieve their full potential and to have productive citizens who are happy, then the role of the teacher is crucial to enable this to happen, because all of this can't be taught by LLMs today. As we think about the teacher's role itself being very difficult, partly because if there are 30 diverse individuals in the classroom, even if they happen to be coming from the same socioeconomic background, the fact that learning levels, learning styles, learning pace, sometimes even dialects are very different, makes it incredibly hard for a teacher to teach everyone, although every child is important. And so, what happens as a natural gravity is you focus on the students who are closest to the learning level in which you're
Right.
teaching and at the resonant frequency. Attention goes there. But the promise of technology allows the software, the agent, to essentially cater down to the current knowledge level of the child and help ratchet that back up, not in 1 year, but over a period of 5-7 years throughout the life of the school. And while the children are interacting with this, it can provide a consolidated data back to the teacher in terms of what he or she has to teach tomorrow on the blackboard, in the classroom, in the lab, because it sort of is almost a dipstick temperature check of where children are and what lesson plan for tomorrow might be most relevant to that. And in all of this, it's empowering the teacher. And we stop judging this teacher, benchmarking it to the best teacher we had in our school, because at India's scale of 300 million students with 9 million teachers, to achieve education at the last mile, we will need to believe that the teachers who are there today are good human beings who can teach the values and are complemented by a good learning software for the students, as well as a good teacher training tool that is built in to the teacher app, for example, so that all of this is at their fingertips. They can do this on the way home in the bus or in the car. They can prepare for this at a time and a place that's convenient to them. And children also have access to an anytime, anywhere learning that complements what they learn in school.
Right,
So
right.
perhaps a lot of the scholastic aspects can be done through the teacher app and CK12 combination, and a lot of the value system is done both by the parents at home as well as the adults in the school. Yeah.
I think that's the
Dream.
dream, right? I forget
Yes.
the word, but yes, that's the dream.
Yeah.
But you forget that the teacher had these things, even say, when you look at the different medium we've gone through, chalk and slate, paper and pen, and then came along online. All the while, we were saying, now teacher has this more information. Now teacher has this. At the chalk and slate time, could they answer the questions? Paper and pen similarly. But as you went through this whole process, you realize that the information is incomplete, right? The teacher, even those days we used to say, well, here's the standardized exam your class took. Here's the answers every student gave. But the teacher never knew why that they didn't get why they got that results. Today, our system will tell you deeply, hey, teacher, student didn't even read all the way. Stopped here. Any questions that are asked after that, they're not going to know. That's a real knowledge state.
The data has far more layers, far more
But the
granular
teacher
information.
does not understand those layers, doesn't understand the data. How, most teachers are not statistics,
And perhaps it's our job to have good UI, UX, good product design to convey
absolutely,
that
but
to
even
the
then,
teachers.
right? Even then, is it really knowing the deep value of that data?
Yeah.
That's where teacher training is a
Yes.
must.
Absolutely.
It's not just kind of saying we're going to train you, but every element of these
Yeah.
systems, we need to support the teacher to understand
Yeah.
why are we saying the student needs it? Why are we saying 10 students in your class aren't going to succeed?
And what's your experience on the ground? Are teachers embracing it, resisting it, and apathetic towards it?
No, I think, Pranav, let's just step back. A teacher with a B.Ed degree does not know how to teach.
Yeah.
So the starting point is negative,
Yeah.
not even starting
zero.
from ground upwards. So that's a continuous thing which we
Investment,
need to keep on doing. It's like industry.
Of course.
Continuous learning, upskilling is something which is a norm.
Right.
Look at the higher education students. Let's say engineering. Why are 29% employable? Why 71% are not even employable? Because what we are teaching them is not what the industry wants.
Yes.
Is not what the world wants.
Yes.
You are teaching the kids which you have been teaching for the last 30 years. The world has moved. The technology disruption is so dramatic. I mean, you're right. Actually, it's not an evolution. It's a revolution which has taken place.
Correct.
I mean, I keep telling kids, I said, every time you sleep at night, in the morning, few inches of the ground has moved under your feet.
Yes.
So if you have to be there where you are, you have to run.
Yes.
But if you now need to go beyond, you probably have to run, skip, hop, jump, and everything needs to be done together. So the starting point is, if the teacher is not fully aware of A, how to teach, B, how to assess who is a weak student, C, how are the learning levels amongst those 30 students. First of all, if you go to the private school, it's 55, 60 students. And to my mind, that itself is not the right thing to do. But government schools have 30, 35. Many private schools have lower numbers. Some may boast about one teacher to 14 students, which my schools do. Still, even in that environment, the teacher must be aware of A, what needs to be done in class, B, she or he is the center or the leader of that class room, and then use all the tools, the TeacherApp, the CK12, to really upskill your own way of looking at how things are happening in the classroom. Because next year, the 30 new students will be different. While what you are teaching is probably the same on year after year, but the students who are receiving, there are 30 new bodies sitting in the classroom with different mindsets, different learning levels.
Yes.
So this is where technology needs to be used.
Yes.
And that is what I was saying, as an enabler, not as a substitute.
Absolutely. So, decades of your hard work, research on student learning and teacher training, and of course, decades of your experience of running schools, benefiting millions of children on the ground, coming together. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how you can turbocharge the work you are doing, and you can benefit from all the data and also provide back a use case for them to make the software better. So hold each other to high standards.
Don't you worry about that.
I know.
I'm going to ask a therapist question. How does it make you feel?
I think both of us will be very happy if every teacher in the country can get benefited in one way or the other.
Yes.
And the good thing is that the teacher app is free for life. So there's not going to be ever a charge.
Right.
Any amount of expense funding is required. We are doing that already. And more educators, more and more education companies are coming on board the teacher app because they know that A, this is for a cause of building India and building the next generations.
Right.
B, this will never be monetized or money raised because Bharti is not into education to make money ever.
Right.
And this is
Neither are
where
we.
neither, and this is where the meeting of minds are happening.
Yes.
So I see no reason why we will not make a difference. Actually, why will we not make a huge difference
Yes.
in preparing teachers of tomorrow?
Neeru, how does this partnership make you feel?
So for me, people say lifelong learning, right?
Yeah.
Learning, and I am a lifelong learner.
Mm.
And I didn't realize this till I went to the US where I had opportunities. I went back to school at the age of 50 to get degree to find out what was the problem in education at Stanford so I could figure out what to do to help other student, every child. And so for me, this is like one thing I know, nothing is forever, right? So the situation we're in right now will be changing as the tools get more mature, as the teachers' mindsets are changing. They will go from very basic training to much more deep training. So they will come in to our teacher apps to try to do the teacher app. The next generation will be much different. So we need to make sure we keep evolving to take care of every generation that comes in, whichever way.
I can see the intent, I can see the desire and the resources that you're deploying towards that goal. But thank you both for your time today. I learned a lot about how technology.
Now make use of what you learned.
I will try my best.
And feedback.
But thank you for sort of showcasing the potential of technology to help every teacher, help every student learn, ultimately towards a happy, productive life and citizenship, but also for life to achieve its full potential. And the fact that we need to solve this at scale. It's not just India, but globally there is a teacher shortage, both in terms of quantity and quality. And we need tools like the Teacher App CK12 together to be able to help complement the advantage of what only humans can do, as well as what technology can, disseminate at scale without loss of fidelity. So I think that's exciting. And I'm so happy to host the first episode of the Teacher App podcast with Ms. Neeru Khosla, who's the co-founder and CEO of CK12, and Mr. Rakesh Bharti Mittal, who's the vice chairman of Bharti Enterprises. Such a fascinating conversation. So grateful.
No, thank you,
for your
Pranav.
Thank you
In the
for-
end, I can
yeah.
only say for happy students, happy children, the teachers need to be happy, the parents need to be happy.
Yes.
The smile is right under your nose. You just forgot to smile.
Thank you. Thank you.